Welcome back to typemoonjune. It's time for worlds to collide in the biggest Type Moon crossover of all time. This episode isn't about Tsukihime, Kara no Kyoukai, Melty Blood, or Fate's Day Night. Shoutouts to those who guessed it right on the last video. I introduced to you Battle Moon Wars. Battle Moon Wars is a strategy RPG developed by Werk. It was released in parts starting in 2005, going all the way through 2008. The version I'm looking at today is from 2009. It compiles all parts into one jam-packed experience. A strategy RPG with Type Moon characters? Say no more. When starting a new file, you're given the choice of two characters, Takumi and Haruna. Each have their own roots, the real root for Haruna and the super root for Takumi. Between the two routes, the story is 90% the same, but we'll branch off to show you the selected character's point of view. I decided to go with Takumi because he's a close range fighter and I figured that would be more straightforward than playing a ranged character. Plus, he has green hair, the best color. This game's story acts as a sequel to Tsukihime, Melty Blood, Fate's Day Night, Fate Hollow Atraxia, Fate Zero, and Kara no Kyoukai. There will be spoilers, you have been warned. Haruna and Takumi are members of the Shinny organization, a group consisting of yokai that deal with yokai and general strange occurrences. And boy, are there strange things happening in Misaki City. Shinny sends Haruna and Takumi to investigate, and their first order of business is to meet with the city's guardian. Upon arriving in the city, they're ambushed by a group of creatures and you're thrown into the first battle. Before each battle, you're given a win and loss condition. These become important later on, but for now, just don't die. Before the battle starts, you can arrange units and check stats. This game is controlled entirely with the mouse. At first I was apprehensive, but man, it's like the mouse was made for strategy RPGs. It's so easy and fluid to move around, pick skills, attack, do anything. Takumi is a close-range melee fighter with his sword Futsuno, and Haruna uses a frickin' P90 for long-ranged attacks. You can move and attack each turn. SP skills use mana, they consist of buffs and healing. Attacks use EN. The stronger the attack, the higher EN cost. Before each attack, you're given a % chance of your attack hitting, and the probability of your opponent's counterattack. Long-range characters like Haruna can circumvent this by attacking enemies outside of their range. Takumi has a buff that lasts one turn that makes all of his attacks have 200% accuracy. It's a super useful skill that sees use throughout the whole game. Attacks are represented by these amazing animations. They're beautiful, one of the best parts of the game, and man do they get old fast. Thankfully, you can toggle them off and on as you please. Defeated enemies explode in comedic fashion. They give you XP, FP, and BP. XP is for leveling up. As you level up, characters will get more SP moves and attacks. I'll explain FP and BP later. Despite being a tutorial battle, I survived by the skin of my teeth. With the monsters dealt with, Haruna and Takumi split up. Haruna goes to the Tono mansion to find the town guardian, while Takumi goes on patrol to assess the state of the town. In between each battle is an intermission. Here you can save your game, view character stats, equip items, and power up your character using FP and BP. FP is used for increasing fundamental stats, attack, magic, hit, evasion, defense, and skill, aka luck. FP is also used for acquiring passive skills. They're expensive but well worth the investment. However, you have limited slots and can't get rid of a skill once it's purchased, so choose wisely. BP, on the other hand, is used to increase battle stats: HP, EN, Quick, and Tough. HP, Quick, and Tough are health, speed, and defense, but EN is tied to basic attacks. Each attack costs a certain amount of EN. The stronger the attack, the higher the cost. BP can be used to upgrade attack damage. This is by far the most expensive thing you can spend your BP on. Like passive skills, they're well worth your while, but I'd recommend going for stat boosts first. Lastly are the items. Each character has a different number of item slots. Items can be consumables that restore HP, EN, SP, or stat boosting equipment. You're going to be spending a lot of time on the intermission screen, but it's worth every second because it makes you all the more prepared for the Battle Moon Wars ahead. A young man finds himself roaming the streets under the veil of night. Something strange is happening in this town. Monsters are appearing out of nowhere and attacking people. He's seen his fair share of phenomenon in his life, but this time it's different. Suddenly, he's attacked by a wolf that shoots electricity, as they do. Takumi hears the commotion and goes for the save, but despite being caught off guard, the young man dodges with ease. Takumi then realizes this boy is none other than Tsukihime protagonist, Shiki Tono, who he knows for some reason. I guess Takumi read the manga. They quickly surround the two, and it's time for Battle 2. Another simple fight, but we get a new character, Shiki. Shiki isn't the strongest around, but he's got high mobility, agility, and critical hit rate. But his HP is pretty low. Shiki starts with 2 attacks. The second one can only be used when you have enough will. Everyone starts the battle with 100 will, and it increases as the fight goes on. Right now, I have enough to unleash his Point of Death attack. Unfortunately, it doesn't KO in one hit, but it does do a nice chunk of damage. An important lesson is learned here. An enemy has a 33% chance of hitting Shiki. Might seem unlikely, but as long as it isn't 0, you're never safe. In Battle Moon Wars, you live and die by the percents. That caterpillar looking thing kind of looks like Mothra from Godzilla. Oh, it's literally Mothra? And then I guess the rest of the enemies are references, but I didn't catch any of them. Takumi cleans up the rest, and that is another battle won. Shiki is rightfully suspicious of the green-haired man wielding a giant sword, but he did just help him fight those monsters. Takumi introduces himself and explains the situation. Takumi and Shiki end up in a local park and get ambushed by a familiar face. Nero Chaos is back from the dead, and he's got his zombie entourage with him. Another battle ensues, but halfway through, a mysterious heroine makes her appearance. Phantasmoon to the rescue. She's one of the strongest characters in the game, and it isn't even her final form. Phantasmoon has medium-ranged attacks with a lot of power, and a big pool of HP to back it up. With her on our side, we send Nero running and only suffered minor casualties. Phantasmoon and Shiki touch base. She hasn't been around much because, like Takumi, she's been investigating in her own way, by dressing up like a magical girl. Before they can get any straight answers from Phantasmoon, she dips, letting our duo know that Akiha is somewhere in town too, so they set off to find her. The perspective switches to Akiha. She should be at home, but she has good reason she's not. While all of this battling was going on, Hisui was kidnapped, and the culprit is none other than Satsuki. Not cool, man. You can't steal maids like it's a capture the flag game. Battle time. Akiha uses magical attacks. She can't move and attack in the same turn, but her attack range is far and wide. Her special skill really comes in clutch. It negates all damage under 4,000 for 5 EN. Weak enemies don't stand a chance. Mid-battle, Shiki and Takumi crash the party. Takumi, knower of everyone, recognizes Satsuki right away. The fact that he and Haruna know so much about the Tsukihime cast and later the other characters feels like lazy writing. Satsuki almost kills Shiki in one hit, and just as I go for some revenge, Caster from the hit visual novel Fate Stay Night helps her get away. Caster summons more enemies, but they're easily dispatched. Caster tries to run, but she's not getting away that easy. They follow Caster to this not at all conspicuous warehouse. Everyone keeps commenting on the fact that Shiki is hanging out with a dude instead of the Rolodex of mysterious and powerful women that usually keep him company. Akiha and Takumi talk business. She wants to keep Shiki out of this, but seeing what they're up against, they're gonna need all the help they can get. The discussion is cut short when Satsuki appears again, guarded by a swarm of monsters. Our next battle is here, but this time we have even more backup. Haruna returns with Kohaku, Rin, and Saber of all people. That's kinda random, but I'm not gonna complain that Saber is on my team. Saber is an amazingly strong character. She's fast and powerful, one of the most reliable units in the game. She has the Mana Burst passive. It buffs her attack and defense during an attack automatically for just 5 EN. Rin, on the other hand, is another long-range character with a focus on magic. Kohaku is a support unit. She has multiple healing skills and buffs. SP healing is super useful because it has infinite range. Her healing skill has less range, but it doesn't cost anything to use and gets her XP. Buffs do the same. With a healer on the team, the game becomes so much easier. My strategy for this fight was to have Takumi, Shiki, and Saber push forward, while Rin and Akiha snipe from afar. When attacked, you have the option for a counterattack, dodge, or defend. The counterattack has a percent chance like normal attacks and does half damage unless you invest in a skill. Useful when you're okay with trading blows. Defend almost always guarantees the attack will hit, but drastically lowers the incoming damage. Good for when you don't want to risk your life on a dice roll. Dodge lowers the attacker's hit rate, and this is the one I found the most useful. I really like this spin they do when they successfully dodge an attack. Takumi is putting up crazy numbers for damage. I somehow got Saber and Kohaku killed, but came out on top. Although there were these crow enemies I couldn't hit with any attack, thankfully the win condition only requires you to KO Satsuki. Satsuki is down, but Nania uses his girl-stealing skills to snatch her before we can get any answers. Our party has no choice but to venture forward. Nero and Castor welcome everyone to their lovely abandoned warehouse. The shocker here is that Nero is Castor's master. On top of all the monsters and bad mojo coming from the town, you're telling me there's another Grail War happening too? The stakes may be raised, but the objective is the same: rescue Hisui. This battle spans multiple stories. Special attention has to be paid to Rin and Saber, because if they're defeated, it's an instant game over. Slowly but surely, I whittle down the weaklings and throw everything I can at Nero. He has a big pool of health and can clap back with some devastating damage. The Alert SP skill comes in handy here. It gives you a 100% dodge rate against the next attack, and it's pretty cheap. The Focus skill is also handy, boosting evasion by 30% for the whole turn, which includes the enemy's turn. It makes Saber and Shiki basically untouchable. Well, in theory, I guess. Castor eventually cuts in and paralyzes everyone. When things seemed darkest, a true heroine comes to the rescue. Phantasmoon is here to save the day again. She breaks Castor's spell and joins the party. I have her distract the basic enemies while the rest of the team focus on Nero. One down, one to go. I hate when there are barely any enemies left and you have to slowly move everyone. I have Takumi and Saber corner Castor and defeat her in one turn. If Castor's day wasn't going bad enough, Archer comes in and stabs her in the back by stabbing her in the back. Not a great guy to have on your team. He then acts all mysterious and disappears. Haruna ponders the betrayal, Rin acting like that isn't her servant playing for the other team. They find an unconscious Hisui and bring her back home. There seems to be more at play here as a shadowy figure talks to Nania. Apparently, everything is going as planned. Before jumping back into the story, how about I level up some characters? Since Shiki keeps dying, I decided to allocate some BP towards HP and Tough. I unlocked the Revenge skill for Saber too. Now, she'll do 20% more damage during counterattacks. That'll make clearing out enemies much easier. We are presented to a flashback taking place a couple of weeks ago. Shiki takes Arcueid to go see a magical girl movie. She is so enthralled by this motion picture that she decides to base her entire personality going forward off of that film. Thus, Phantasmoon is born. She then goes around helping people with a 100% success rate, becoming a bit of a local celebrity. But Hater Supreme, CL, comes to rain on her parade. They squabble for a while until someone calls out for help, and without second thought, Phantasmoon rushes to the scene. A girl is surrounded by zombies, but Phantasmoon is here to help. Oh, and would you look at that? It's Akira Seo from the Alliance of Illusionary Eyes, a story I've covered that you can watch right after this video. What are the odds? Akira escapes and Phantasmoon quickly dispatches the undead. Ciel then shows up to bitch some more, but is interrupted by another girl in need of help. It's Hai Misawa, one of Akiha's friends. This is a new mission type. All enemies must be defeated and Hai's HP can't fall to 0. I have terrible luck, and she is killed by a 110% accuracy attack before I could do anything. Let's try that again. CL is a mid-range physical attacker. She's not amazing right now, but becomes a late-game monster. Her unique passive heals her every turn, so you can be a little reckless with her. The two save high and go back to bickering, ending the flashback. With everyone in one place and no immediate threat, the group uses this time to get on the same page. The events of this game take place after Melty Blood Act Cadenza and the Heavens Feel route. The idea of Tatari being behind what's going on is floated, but Shiki and Phantasmoon shoot that down. This all started 2 weeks ago and quickly escalated to this. Whoever is behind everything is turning the city into hallowed ground. They're trying to seize the land for some unknown purpose. Not to mention, foes like Nero have seemingly come back to life. Although, he isn't acting like himself. Nero isn't someone who plays with his food. He'd try to kill you as fast as possible, so what's going on? Also, why are Rin and Saber here? They just kinda showed up. Rin came to the city to find Akiha because she needs information. She's looking for Toko Ozaki. Saber's here because she was summoned. Rin then explains the basics of the Grail War and its ability to grant any wish the user desires. This time, Saber was summoned by Kohaku. She doesn't really know why, but that's the situation they're in. So, to sum everything up, they need to find out who's behind all of this and win the Grail War. Should be easy. With all of that cleared up, Shiki and Takumi go out on patrol while the rest retire for the night. Shiki takes Takumi to the hotel where he and Phantasmoon fought Nero in Tsukihime. The place is drenched in stagnation, meaning it's somewhere where the monsters they've been fighting can easily show up. Coincidentally, Rin is staying here. The prices are super cheap. Honestly, I'm surprised this place is still open after Nero ate everyone in the building. Anyway, the group decides to cleanse the area of its stagnation. This map makes good use of elevation. Elevation messes with attack range. Close range attackers are at a disadvantage, but long range attackers like Rin can circumvent this to an extent. Even though they have the high ground advantage, this was a short encounter. Although I did lose Rin to a 30% chance attack right at the beginning. It's fine though, Shiki and Takumi carried. The stagnation is taken care of and the patrol continues, uneventful. Before the next mission, I unlock the Defender skill for Shiki. It raises his defense when his will reaches 130. The next morning, a familiar face greets Shiki. Hisui has recovered from her kidnapping and resumed her maidly duties. The group decides to split up tonight so they can cover more ground. Takumi's group investigates the school, and would you look at that? It's the dog! And he brought friends. I want to point out that these spider enemies are bastards. They don't do a lot of damage, but their attacks cast debuffs. This one debuffs accuracy. It's really annoying. Takumi, Shiki, and Saber clear this horde in no time flat, while I have Kohaku heal from the sidelines. The electric wolf is defeated a second time, but it gets away. The group call it a day and return to the mansion. With all of these short battles, I have a good amount of resources to invest. I opt to level up Saber's weapons, since she did a lot of damage last fight. I give Rin and Haruna some HP increases, and equip the tactical cat ears on Shiki to make him even faster. The story catches up with Phantasmoon up to her usual antics. By chance, she runs into Satsuki and she's ready to take her out right then and there, but Len stops her. Nero's merry band of murder animals show up and Satsuki slips away. Battle at the skate park. New character alert, Len. She is another support type character, but focuses on debuffs and she can reload weapons. Instead of WP, some attacks are limited by ammo. Len can reload them using her ammo skill. Len doesn't do much damage, but that doesn't matter. Phantasmoon is a busted character, and takes care of these losers no problem. One of them gets away, causing Len and Phantasmoon to give chase. Old habits die hard. Nero returns to the same hotel he attacked last time. They say a criminal always goes back to the scene of the crime, but I just think he's a lazy bum. Rin is still staying at the hotel even though Shiki told her about what happened last time, and uh-oh, here comes the evil crocodile. This fight starts you in a sticky situation. When put in situations like this with no healers, it's a good idea to fall back on the focus skill to raise the evade rate and alert to dodge attacks outright. Eventually, Nero and Phantasmoon show up. Nero is too strong for us to take down right now, so I employ a new tactic. Run the hell away. At least that's what I should have done, but I didn't get the memo and tried to have Len 1v1 Nero. That went as well as you'd expect. In this mission, if any character dies, it's game over, so I had to repeat again. It's really important to pay attention to those battle conditions. On my second try, I beeline for that window and get out of dodge. Phantasmoon stays to hold off Nero while Rin retreats and goes to get the others. Flashback to 1 hour ago. Shiki and Akiha go to school for the day with Haruna and Takumi joining them, leaving the mansion to the maids and Saber. Every so often, the game sprinkles these nice quiet character moments in between the action. In this one, there's a nice scene with Kohaku and Saber, a pairing that is very popular in the fandom but I've always seen as random. I know we're in the middle of a conversation, but I just wanted to comment on the dialogue portraits. The dialogue portraits are very expressive. The artist has managed to capture the look of the characters in their own style, while also capturing the essence of Takeuchi's designs. They're just good to look at, and I adore this art style. The piece is cut short by the surprise arrival of Shiki. He's back and he's got Ryder with him. With just Saber and the maids, it sounds like you'd be at a disadvantage, but it's quite the opposite. Saber is the main DPS, with the maids being glorified medics. Hisui is a support character like Kohaku, but she has debuffs and can reload like Len. Her animations are very goofy. She's an icon. I keep the high ground and have enemies funnel towards Saber, each getting cut down with ease. Shiki and Takumi return after a few turns, and Shiki shifts his focus. Now, if Shiki dies, it's game over. Having PTSD from the last mission, I made him run away as fast as I could. Funnily enough, this seems to have broken Shiki's AI. He wants to chase his brother so bad, but gets stuck like this for the rest of the battle. Rin and Len finally make their way back, joining the battle. No, Len, not again! Ryder and Shiki have a lot of speed. Landing a clean hit isn't easy. I had to pull Shiki out from his corner to help, but after Ryder lost a certain amount of health, both retreated, ending the battle. There is no time to rest as everyone rushes back to the hotel. After feasting on a fine meal of hotel staff and guests, Nero is back at full strength. This is the biggest battle yet and a skill check. This fight kicked me 3 ways from Sunday. I had such a hard time because of 2 reasons. One, after you defeat Nero, he comes back stronger with way more health. 2, if Shiki, Saber, Rin, or Phantasmoon die, it's game over. Normally, I'd just keep them out of harm's way, but even when the odds were in my favor, I'd still get unlucky, and Nero would kill a vital unit in 1 hit. After crushing defeat after crushing defeat, I devised the greatest plan you've ever seen. I'm Dr.Zuul with the Battle Moon Wars play-by-play. First, clear out the regulars, isolating Nero. I then position my heavy hitters on the left and right of the battlefield, right outside of Nero's optimal range. I have Takumi go in as a distraction since he's expendable. I make good use of his resist skill, which reduces all damage to 10 for 1 attack. Phantasmoon's vigor skill heals her for cheap, letting me save on heals. Akiha and Rin were positioned at the bottom of the stage so they could take pot shots from a safe distance. Rin has the attack support skill, letting her follow up Akiha's attack with her own. Akiha's special skill negated a lot of Nero's attacks too, keeping Rin nice and safe. In the second phase, I bring in Saber and use her damage reduction buff to keep her alive, while she, Takumi, Phantasmoon, Rin, and Akiha take turns attacking. Rin and Akiha score the final blow. It's finally over. Or is it? He's not going down. In fact, he's getting stronger. Nero made this area using his reality marble. It makes him stronger and stops Phantasmoon and Shiki from killing him. It seems like our party can do nothing to stop the incoming chaos. But then Saber gets an idea. She asks Kohaku to command her to defeat Nero. Kohaku orders her servant to do so. With the power of the command spell, Saber powers up to full and unleashes her ultimate attack. Nero is washed away by the radiance of Excalibur. And taking the hotel with it. Good thing Nero ate all those people, or Kohaku and Saber would be murderers, and we know Kohaku would never murder people. This was one of the most memorable moments in my playthrough. The struggle to win, creating a strategy, and the fan service ending. It is Battle Moon Wars at its best. And all of that losing wasn't for nothing. You get to keep all of the XP, FP, and BP earned on failed attempts. What a pleasant surprise. Call me a casual, but I hate it when I lose progress in an RPG and have to do the grinding all over again. Rin is worried that something might have happened to Sakura since Shiki is in possession of Ryder. She gives Shiro a call to check in, but Karin picks up. Something did, in fact, happen. Time for another flashback. Shiro, Ryder, and Sakura are enjoying a pleasant evening. Shiro is still trying to get used to his new body. The chit-chat is cut short by a disturbance in the backyard. It's some guy they've never seen before. Shiki is here to steal Ryder, and he's brought an army of debuff spiders. After the high stakes of the last fight, this one is a walk in the park. We get 3 new characters to play with. Shiro is a basic melee character that gets some really strong attacks later on. He has an SP skill that can cure debuffs, perfect for this fight. Sakura is a long-range mage like Rin, but with the snipe skill, she can double her range. Ryder is a character I didn't get a lot of use out of. She's not bad, but she shares a lot of DNA with the other characters. Maybe if there was a mission that involved rescuing a cat from a tall tree, she would have been more useful. Stomp enough spiders and Shiki whips out the Rule Breaker. He uses it on Ryder, making her his servant. He also tries to kidnap Sakura, but Shiro won't stand for that. Unfortunately, in his current state, he's not strong enough to stop them. Just in the nick of time, Karin and Lancer arrive to help, causing Shiki to retreat. Karin is the best support in the game. She can cure debuffs, she can buff her allies, and she could heal. Later on, she's going to get a skill that fully heals, and man is that a lifesaver. Lancer is a ranged melee character, kinda like Saber but with more range. Defeating this bird and some spiders is no challenge. This battle is done and dusted. Flashback over. Rin tells Shiro and Sakura to come to the city since they'll be safe together, and Karin accompanies them on Rin's request. We finally get to see what CL has been up to instead of helping. It's a whole lot of nothing. She's just talking to her sentient ghost girl horse Pilebunker. She just got back from patrol and gets an after-hours work call. Don't you hate those? The church wants her to complete one small teeny task. Find the Holy Grail of Legend. No biggie. The Fate crew is super confused about the Grail War happening again. It's not impossible for it to happen again. If an area has enough energy, the conditions for the Grail to appear can be replicated according to Sakura. Before they can give it any more thought, Shiki is back and he demands to be taken seriously. Karen and Lancer help Shiro and Sakura escape and take Shiki and Ryder's forces head on. Eventually, Ciel, Shiki, Takumi, and Akiha arrive on scene after a couple of turns, making this encounter a cakewalk. Karen buffs allies by playing a piano that summons pineapple slices. Some of the enemies have the defensive support skill, allowing them to take an attack for a friend. Kohaku and other characters have this skill too, but this is just the beginning because they start spamming this skill like crazy later on. Shiki retreats again and everyone lives to fight another day. Shiki is not taking his loss well, bitching that his servant sucks. Roa gives him some quick advice. If he wants his servant to be stronger, he just needs to perform a couple of human sacrifices. I wonder what he has planned. I'm sure it's totally original. I've been buffing Shiki's speed and he's becoming too fast. I got Kohaku the SP regen skill. It's expensive but well worth the investment. Each turn she'll regenerate a little bit of SP, a skill you'll want on all of your supports. The next day, Shiki, Akiha, and Ciel go to school. They fill her in on all of the goings-on and plan their next move. Since things have escalated to such an extreme degree, Ciel joins our party. Nanya is hanging out with the lightning dog. They're guarding an incapacitated Satsuki when Takumi and the others run into them. This is a small map, but you can jump on the fences, which I found amusing. The lightning dog can kick rocks. I've beaten him a million times. But Nanya? He's a fierce foe. I gotta bring out the big guns. Lancers up. His Gale Bog is an attack that can't miss. This Wi-Fi enthusiast doesn't stand a chance. Defeated, Nanya leaves and tells Shiki he should totally come to school tomorrow. They do what he says and go to school, which is most certainly a trap. It is a trap, but not a very original one. Shiki is pulling a Shinji and put up a boundary field in the school to absorb everyone's energy. You think Ryder suggested this idea knowing it didn't work last time to sabotage him? Shiki, Akiha, Lancer, Ciel, and Karen are trapped inside and come face to face with Ryder in this intense hallway battle. What, am I playing Final Fantasy 13? This should have been another easy battle for the history books, but this blue thing killed Ciel with its Pepsi attack. Second time's the charm. I clear out the enemies and everyone jumps Ryder, and the boundary field is history. Time to check back in with Phantasmoon and Len. Looks like they found Satsuki in a parking garage. Phantasmoon still wants to get rid of her, but Satsuki is trying very hard to contain her bloodlust. It's only gotten worse since Roa has come back to life. Being a hero of justice, and because Shiki would be mad at her if she didn't, Phantasmoon helps Satsuki quell it for the time being. Her bloodlust will go away once Roa is dealt with, so Satsuki just needs to tell her his location and the problem will be dealt with. Unfortunately, that would be too easy, so Division 1 professional hater Archer comes in to ruin everything. In this mission, you have to protect Satsuki at all costs, using Len and Phantasmoon only. Have Phantasmoon do all of the dirty work while Len heals and debuffs via Moe. Now that I think about it, Archer couldn't have picked a worse person to 1v1. He is the coughing baby in this scenario, and Phantasmoon is the hydrogen bomb. Honestly, he's lucky he made it out alive. Phantasmoon, defender of love, courage, and peace, defeats the Red Man, but it looks like Satsuki disappeared again. Back to our main team, Ciel is explaining the basics of Roa's reincarnation. It's strange. To understand this game, you'd need to read 3 visual novels and a light novel to understand anything. Yet this game goes out of its way to explain simple things like Roa. Anyway, Phantasmoon tracks down Satsuki near a highway, but so does Shiki and the others. Roa decides to reveal himself and he's brought back up. Just like the last map, this one is a tiny uphill battle. I get Shiki a little too close to Satsuki and she freaks out. This causes her and Roa to retreat, and now I have to fight Archer again. Just like the last fight, this one was no sweat. Phantasmoon can crush normal enemies in no time at all and sprint around these small maps. Anyone she doesn't get, Takumi and Saber take care of. Archer runs away for a second time tonight, but in a very, hey, you should follow me, idiot kind of way to get the group to go after him. Before I do that, I use some BP to make Len a little tankier. I also get Shiki the hit and away skill. It allows him to move after attacking, but if you move and then attack, you can't move again. It's not as good as I thought it would be. Archer leads them right into a trap. Looks like we were the idiots. Our heroes are cornered in this narrow alleyway, allowing Archer to take pot shots at us. Throughout the battle, arrows will rain down from the sky. Fortunately, he has the aim of a blind man. More fodder to cut through. The MVPs continue to do what they do best. We surround Satsuki in a friendship circle and help her. Then we go say hello to Michael. I gave Takumi the attack support skill, and it absolutely destroys boss health bars. Being able to get 2 strong attacks in for the price of 1 is invaluable. Roa predictably runs away, but he's not getting away that easy. Roa and Shiki are cornered, but they've got one more trick up their sleeve. Transformation. They are now neither Roa or Shiki, but Roshiaki. Alright, boss fight time. Thank goodness you can turn off the animations, because if you had to play a battle like this in real time, it'd take 4 hours. There are so many enemies, but that doesn't mean the fight was hard. Actually, it was kinda tedious. Roshiaki does put up a fight, but he went down just like the rest. This was the complete opposite of the Nero fight. I'm a little disappointed. Roshiaki is defeated, but they refuse with Shiki on the right and Roa on the left. Akiha, CL, and Phantasmoon proceed to one-shot him into oblivion using a 3-way super attack. Shiki goes to check on Satsuki, who should be feeling better now that Roa is dead. Unfortunately, Nania is bored and decides to mortally wound Satsuki and Shiki, sending them into the river below. And then he leaves. The last fight gave me a ton of experience, so I went on a shopping spree. I don't get much of an opportunity to use the characters from Haruna's side, so I really don't know what I should upgrade, so I just stick with the regulars. No one is more upset about their brother getting thrown into a river by his evil clone than Akiha. Kohaku decides to take matters into her own hands and asks Saber to teach Hisui and herself how to be better fighters so they can protect Shiki and Akiha. Through the training, Hisui and Kohaku learn a team-up attack. Team-ups are attacks that can be used when 2 units are close together. Just in time, too, because the group gets ambushed, but they're no match for the power of 2 maids. And Saber. Let's see what Shiki's up to. He's having one hell of a nightmare. Quite literally guilt-tripping to death. In the waking world, Shion finds him and uses her ether light to dreamwalk into his nightmare. Shiki and Shion take on Satsuki, Akiha Vermilion, and Koma Kashima. It's more of a story fight than a challenge. With the nightmare slain, Shiki wakes up. He explains to Shion how he ended up in the gutter. Shion, shocked, immediately expects that Tatari must be back, but Shiki reiterates that Tatari has nothing to do with what's going on. Shion wants to take Shiki back home, but he refuses. He needs to get stronger so he can defeat Nania. Shion surmises if he can get better at using his mystic eyes, he might just stand a chance. The best way to do that would be to find someone to train him. But what are the odds of finding someone with the mystic eyes of death perception, let alone someone who could train Shiki? Toko Ozaki, with Ryogi Shiki by her side, are getting some work done in the park. Toko is in town for business, with Ryogi acting as her bodyguard. They've been able to stay out of this conflict for the last few weeks, but White Len can't have any of that and drags them in. Ryogi is a better Shiki in some ways. She has the true mystic eyes of depth perception, allowing her to get an increased hit rate, critical hit rate, and the ability to evade attacks under the right circumstances. Toko is like Sakura, a long-ranged mage with abysmal movement, although she's more offensively focused than Sakura. White Len is taken care of quickly, but she was just bait. More enemies are summoned and she retreats. Shiki and Shion just happen to be passing by, and boy do I need their help. None of these characters have healing skills, and Ryogi was on critical health. If she got KO'd, it would have been game over. The four dispatch the enemies, and Toko immediately starts grilling Shiki about his relationship with her sister. He explains how they met and why Ooko gave him glasses in the first place. In the last battle, Shiki saw that Ryogi has the same ability as him and pleads with her to train him. Shion helps barter a deal and Toko accepts. She leaves Shiki with these strangers and departs to do Shion things. Shion runs into Phantasmoon by chance, and wouldn't you know, she has Satsuki with her. How convenient! After giving her some medicine she developed, Satsuki is feeling a lot better. Shion lets everyone know that Shiki is okay. Then White Len shows up, but she's not alone. She has the Tatari with her, and it takes the form of Nero. To get to Nero and White Len, you need to climb this rubble. Satsuki is a physical powerhouse. She can punch things really hard. Shion is a mid-ranged character attacking with her Ether Light, and Barrel Replica is incredibly strong, but is limited by ammo. I usually saved it for bosses. Personally, it's one of my favorite animations in this game. Remember when Shion was in Melty? Good times. Tatari is defeated for now, but he promises he'll be back. Back to Toko, she takes the Shikis to her apartment where they begin training. Even though this is a fan work, it's really cool seeing Shiki and Ryogi talk about their powers and shared experiences. Thanks to her training, Shiki unlocks a new attack, 17 Dissection. Oh look, a fresh batch of foes to test it on. Wonderful! With Ryogi's training, Shiki feels like he's ready to face Nanya, and the three of them head for the mansion. In Shiki's absence, Akiha has not been herself. She's being reckless, and it's affecting the morale of everyone. Takumi steps up and talks some sense into her. In the state that she's in, she's being nothing more than a burden who is dragging down the rest of the team. If she keeps up like this, she's gonna get herself killed. Akiha reluctantly agrees and opts to stay out of patrols for the time being. Later that night, Shiro and his crew are discussing the situation when Nanya and Archer stage an assault on the mansion. For the first time in a long time, we have a challenging fight on our hands. All of the strongest fighters aren't available, and we have to make do with Ryder, Akiha, Shiro, Sakura, and Hisui. None of these characters are bad, but they don't have the most HP, and Hisui being the only healer means you don't have a lot of healing to go around. Plus, if anyone gets KO'd, it's game over. Which is what happened to me. Right at the end of the fight, Nanya lands a lucky hit, killing Ryder. On the second try, I keep everyone close and use Shiro as a meat shield since he has defensive support, letting him take hits for allies, and an SP skill that fully heals him. I win the battle, but the game says nuh-uh, and in the cutscene, True Assassin comes in, knocks out Ryder, and kidnaps Sakura. Archer then uses unlimited blade works to style on Shiro, fires an arrow at Akiha, and goes to kill Hisui. What a jerk! Shiro steps in, and you actually get to play this part. It's hopeless. He doesn't stand a chance. Archer is about to deliver the final blow, but Ryogi and Shiki decide to cut in with their new team attack. one-shotting Archer, forcing him to run away. When Nanya hears the news, he's excited. He cannot wait to fight Shiki again. Akiha is reunited with Shiki, and the team is introduced to Ryogi and Toko. Upstairs, Shiro is lamenting the fact that he couldn't save Sakura. Rin is trying to cheer him up. If only she could find the legendary puppet master Toko Ozaki, then she could get Shiro a new body. Shiki interrupts their conversation and informs Rin that Toko is downstairs. After the last fight, I'm starting to see the value of Shiro, so I invest in boosting his attack power. I also unlock SP regen skills for Hisui and Karin now that I can afford it. Ryogi and Toko also get some stat boosts. Toko and Takumi are having a conversation about Shini when Rin interrupts. She asks Toko to create a puppet for her, but can't give the reason why. Good thing Shiro barges in and tells her the puppet will be his new body. After that last battle, he can barely move his body, let alone fight. It takes some convincing, but Toko eventually agrees after Shiro projects the Kuji Kanasada for Ryogi, and Rin offers bags of money and priceless gems. However, she warns them that the process isn't guaranteed to work. The next morning, Rin tells Akiha, Haruna, and Takumi why they captured Sakura. They're likely going to use her as the container for the Holy Grail. The next course of action is to find Nanya. If they find him, Archer won't be far behind and they can get Sakura's location. Shiro then reveals Archer's true identity. In Heaven's Feel, they never learned it, but Shiro was able to figure it out now because of last night's fight. Plus, it would explain why he was able to graft Archer's arm onto himself so easily during the events of Heaven's Feel. I like that the writers treat this game like it's a sequel and give things a proper explanation instead of the characters just knowing these things. They head over to Toko's apartment so they can get a new body for Shiro when the place is attacked by an Angra Mainyu. The game makes a big deal of not touching them, and I didn't, so I don't know what happens if you do, if anything happens at all. This is the first fight where you can choose what units you want to use. This gives you more freedom, but also makes the game easier. Throughout the fight, Haruna is slowly losing her mind, being affected by the pure evil those creatures are radiating. At the same time, Toko is transferring Shiro over to his new body, and it is not going well. Eventually, Haruna snaps and tries to attack the red Angra Mainyu, and does no damage. Saber and Takumi have to rescue her, causing Takumi's sword to shatter, disabling them both for the rest of the fight. In the waking world, Shiro is unresponsive, but he's dreaming, amazed by the power before him. A voice starts reciting the unlimited Bladeworks chant, but before it can finish, he rejects it wholeheartedly. He's gonna save Sakura on his own terms, and he's not gonna use his power. Shiro wakes up and joins the battle, using 9 lives, Blade Works, to cleave the red Angra Mainyu in 2. This is when Shiro really comes into his own as a unit. He has many powerful attacks only being held back by his EN. Ryder and Rin also join the battle. With this many characters, it's impossible to lose. In the aftermath of the fight, Haruna is in a bad state. When she got attacked, she was poisoned and it's reached her very soul. Toko is going to keep her stable until backup from Shini can arrive with a cure. Haruna is out of the picture for now, but that doesn't change the objective at hand. Defeat Nanya and learn where they took Sakura. The next night, Shiki confronts Nanya and the two begin their final showdown. What's interesting about this fight is to win, you don't need to defeat the enemies, just Nanya. I've been waiting for this. In preparation, I've been maxing out Shiki's speed stat. Now, Nanya can't even hit him. It takes a few turns, but Shiki bests Nanya. He tries to interrogate Nanya on the whereabouts of Sakura before he delivers the final blow. However, Nanya uses this opportunity to counterattack, but Satsuki steps in and protects Shiki. No more messing around. Shiki lands the decisive blow, killing Nanya. Satsuki lays injured next to Shiki. He holds her in his arms. She's happy that he's finally paying attention to her for once. Satsuki then passes away from her injuries. I have to commend the developers. It takes a lot of guts to kill off a fan favorite character like that. I can't believe Satsuki is fucking dead. Look on the bright side. Archer is back on our side and he's gonna spill all the details. Oh, he doesn't remember anything and Nanio was nothing more than a guy they put on the front lines? Fantastic. With no leads, all they can do is search for Sakura. Now that Shiro is back at 100%, Toko asks him to hold up his end of the bargain and project the Kuji Kanesada. He starts the projection, Archer is like, hey, you want me to do it? But Shiro tells him to buzz off. Unfortunately, Kohaku interrupts at the worst time possible, bumping into Rin. Instead of creating the sword he wanted to, he projects Magical Ruby because it was on Rin's mind before Kohaku bumped into her. Kaleida Ruby is reborn and she goes out to save the city. Phantasmoon takes quick notice and immediately starts feeling threatened. If she doesn't do something fast, she's gonna lose her spot as the top magical girl. First, she retools her outfit to be more magical. Then she pays Castor a visit, who is apparently still alive and well. Phantasmoon busts the door down to Castor's goon cave and borrows Castor's staff, much to Castor's delight. Rin snaps out of her magical girl trance right in time for Phantasmoon to arrive and reveal her new transformation, Eclipse. If anyone is gonna be the top magical girl, it's gonna be her. And Rin would give it to her, but Magical Ruby is forcing her to participate in this farce. Rin and Phantasmoon can now transform into new characters before battle. They share the upgrades of their counterparts, so you don't need to invest in two new characters. Phantasmoon goes from a short-ranged melee attacks to long-ranged magical attacks. Rin, on the other hand, has even greater range than before, and she has an attack that can hit multiple enemies at once. Its usefulness varies as it doesn't have the best accuracy or do the most damage. It can even hit your own units. This battle is a glorified tutorial for these two characters. The magical girl competition ends in a stalemate, and Rin tries to forget this ever happened. It's been a couple of days, and Haruna is barely holding on. Takumi watches over her while Toko takes a smoke break. Haruna wakes up and receives a vision of a dark giant and girl in purple attacking the mansion. Her vision was right on the money because shortly after, Berserker and Ilya arrive at the Tono Mansion and they're here to play. With no healers to back you up, this fight is a challenge. Don't bother fighting Berserker, he's way too strong. It's better to focus on taking down Ilya since you only need to defeat one of them to win. That doesn't mean Ilya is a pushover. She can dodge attacks like no one's business and dish out punishment. Focus on taking the least amount of damage from the common enemies and save SP for taking down Ilya. The 200% accuracy buff and damage reduction buffs are essential to win this battle. Oh, we've got Archer as a party member now, don't we? Archer is a versatile character only limited by his resources. His attacks cover a variety of ranges, and he has all of the SP skills you'd want for an attacker. Keep track of that EN bar and use him wisely. Look at that, 10,000 damage in one attack, you'll love to see it. Victory is short-lived as we get another helping of you won in gameplay, but not the cutscene. Berserker is giving everyone the business and breaks Takumi's sword a second time. This one was projected by Shiro after the first one broke, and Berserker just shattered it like glass. If only a new sword that could kill demigods would fall out of the sky. Backup from Shinny arrives, Amazon priming Takumi a new sword. And it's not just for show. This is the Futsuno Mitama, a sword capable of killing gods. Cool. Takumi gives Berserker the business, injuring him, forcing a retreat from Ilya. While Takumi and the others were dealing with Berserker, the curse that was overtaking Haruna took physical form and attacked. Haruna was able to take care of it with her own power-up, but if you want to see that, I guess you have to play her route instead. Natsuki has arrived from the Shinny organization and she has critical information. Whoever is behind all of this is using the Rite of Soul Suppression. Basically, it's an ancient ritual that takes in lots of energy from one place and is used to suppress something powerful. The question is, what or who are they going to use it on? One thing is for sure, whoever is behind this is either super old or has knowledge of ancient rituals. Rin gets Shiro to project the Drzuul sword, but I never used this attack because I kept using her magical girl form. The next night, the two patrols meet at the skate park after finding nothing. Shion thinks it's really suspicious that Tatari hasn't appeared again even though the conditions have been right, and oh look, it's Tatari taking the form of Dark Sakura. This battle reuses the skate park map, but at least this time you start on the bottom. Everyone is here. This is an absolutely huge battle. With so many units under your control, you can get really creative with the strategies. My go-to tactic was to split the characters into small squads to take care of each corner of the map. Natsuki is a new character and she is a support slash sniper hybrid. Unlike the other sniping characters, she actually has a sniper rifle. She has a skill that lets her ignore elevation and jump great distances. I didn't end up using her much, as I found Kohaku and Karin to be better overall supports. However, I do think that she's better than Hisui since she can deal out decent damage and has attack support. Haruna has a new look and new powers to match. She's gotten much stronger, but she's still no Takumi. Like the outfit though. This fight took about an hour, and that's with most of the battle animations turned off. I don't know what the deal is with strategy RPGs, but their battles always end up being so long. 1 hour later, and I only ended up losing Lancer in the funniest way possible. Of course, Lancer of all people would be the one to die to a 4% attack. The jokes write themselves. Tatari is defeated again. See you next Tuesday. After a long battle like that, I like to light some candles, draw a nice bath, and upgrade my characters. I get Saber the Revenge and Concentrate skills. Revenge increases the damage she does on counterattacks, while Concentrate cuts SP cost by 20%. Lancer also gets Concentrate, although I recommend getting it for your supports first for cheap heals. Then I put some points into upgrading Shion's HP and defense, Toko's HP and speed, Lancer's HP and defense because of what happened last fight, and Archer's EN since his attacks cost higher to use than most characters. It's been 3 days since the Tatari fight, and our heroes have found a whole lot of nothing. No resurrected foes, no swarms of enemies to fight, zilch. If they could find Ilya, they might be able to get something out of her, but she's not just gonna show up. A new approach is needed. Toko surmises that everything thus far has been meticulously planned out. Orchestrating events like this takes months or years of prep, so it's likely that the enemy is staying somewhere that has been constructed recently that best fits their plans. Going off that hunch, they find buildings that fit that description and investigate. They split into two groups and would ya look who it is. Ilya is caught off guard, but won't give up any info unless they defeat them in a battle. Fighting Berserker isn't straightforward. He has a passive that will negate all damage under 5,000. To rub salt in the wound, any attack that meets that threshold is reduced by 1,500. If you want an easy time beating that damage threshold, use the SP skill that doubles damage, and throw some buffs in for good measure. You don't need to overcome 12 trials to win this battle, you just need big damage. Ilya is impressed by our efforts and gives up the location of Sakura. Returning to the mansion, Haruna's group ran into Zoken Mato, who also spilled the beans on Sakura's location. They check Google Maps and it leads to a spooky castle. Now, you may be wondering how they missed something so obvious, but a perception filter was set up to stop people from noticing such an ominous structure. Shiro wants to dive in headfirst and save Sakura, but Archer calls him an idiot. Instead, they send Ryder, Lancer, and Archer to scope the place out first. The next battle has a super limited roster, so I make sure the 3 servants are properly prepared. I get the moral skill for Archer, which gives him +1 will every turn. Now he'll have access to his stronger attacks faster. Lancer gets the counter skill, which lets him attack first while being targeted, and Ryder gets some much needed defensive boosts. Our trio of servants infiltrate easily enough and find where Sakura is being held. Before they can escape to tell the others, Ryder and Archer are ambushed by Sella and Lisalit. With no healers available, you'll be relying on dodging and speed to win this battle. The first go around, I took out everyone but Sella. By the time I got to her, I was drained of SP and Archer had no EN to attack. The odds were not in my favor and Ryder was defeated, leading to a game over. Juggling HP and SP is key. The second time around, I made sure to conserve Archer's EN and used unlimited blade works to take care of the bosses. We're not out of the woods yet, as Zoken is here to stop us from escaping. Good thing Lancer is a cool guy and saves everyone. The objective has changed. Now everyone has to book it to the end of the room. In the moment, this was really stressful. I did not want to redo this fight for a third time. Looking back on it, I don't think I was in much danger, but you can never be sure when you're getting hit with 4% attacks like me. The servants make it back to the mansion in one piece. Time for Operation Save Sakura. The plan is simple. Team Takumi will distract Ilya and Berserker, while Team Haruno will sneak around back and rescue Sakura. Since we're playing as Takumi, we'll be following his perspective. Phantasmoon is on our team, but she doesn't want to be. She just wants to be a magical girl. We barely get to the entrance before things start going wrong. Back again! It's Tatari, and he's taken the form of Dark Saber. To get in the building, we've got to topple this dark doppelganger. We're about halfway through the game, and I've pretty much mastered battles at this point. Who needs strategy when you got a team full of all-stars? Honestly, I think the stairs in this mission are a bigger obstacle than the enemies are. Tatari is defeated for the third time, but don't worry, he will be back. With that minor inconvenience out of the way, the team makes it inside the mansion. Ilya greets the party at the door like any good host would. It's time for a rematch with Berserker, and Ilya's got her whole crew behind him. This map has a huge staircase that you have to climb to get to. Half the mission is approaching and the other half is climbing. It's very exciting. So I have Phantasmoon distract Berserker and send the rest to take Ilya down. I got Saber the aggressive skill, which gives her +1 will every time she takes damage. At this point in the fight, she's maxed out and can spam Excalibur like it's no one's business. Takumi is right behind her with Offensive Support 3, stacking even more damage on top of that. Look, I didn't even need to take out Berserker. Operation Kill Ilya as fast as possible, accomplished. Nothing good in this world lasts. Everyone's favorite blonde bad boy comes to do what he does best. Harass Saber, look down on others, and spam. Even Phantasmoon stands no chance. He crucifies her to the wall, humiliating the true ancestor. Maybe if she stopped messing around, this wouldn't have happened. This is a mistake Gilgamesh is going to regret, as Phantasmoon swears revenge. Even though Takumi's team got embarrassed by Gil, Haruna's team was able to rescue Sakura without a hitch. So besides Phantasmoon's hurt pride, this mission was a resounding success. Everyone returns to the mansion when they see a blinding light in the sky. Natsuki set up a seal at the castle as a warning signal, and it looks like it was just broken. Ciel then gets a phone call from Werk. It's for Karin. The woman she's been keeping in her basement has escaped. Said woman is Bazette. She's woken up just in time for the Holy Grail War. She seems to be having a bit of amnesia, but with her servant at her side, I'm sure she'll do great. Natsuki takes Haruna, Archer, and Shiro back to the castle basement to investigate the area in which Sakura was being held. Using Haruna's power, Natsuki is able to figure out how the city has become hallowed ground so quickly, through human sacrifice. It seals the sacrificee's power, which is then absorbed by the land, collecting a ton of energy for whoever's behind this. During the nightly meeting, they talk about the Grail again and come to a shocking discovery. This whole time they've been fighting, it's been contributing to the human sacrifices. Each foe defeated has done nothing but help the mastermind. There is no doubt now that the person who started the Grail War and the person that turned the city into hallowed ground are one and the same. The Grail War guaranteed that the appropriate sacrifices would be collected, and if the party lost at any point, they would be the sacrifices instead, and the mastermind could continue unopposed. Even though they're playing right into the enemy's hands, the only option is to continue the Grail War. Toko has an idea. She would like to double check the building where they found Ilya. Inside the building, they find Soren Araya up to his old tricks. although he hasn't been brought back to life like the others. Apparently, he survived the offense of Kara no Kyoukai. This battle is surprisingly short and easy. Araya does have a gimmick. He's got two pieces of wallpaper with 10 million HP that will take attacks for him. They can't fight back. Functionally, they're shields. Focus on those first, then attack him. I tried to style on him with the Shiki combo attack, but he survived and Phantasmoon had to finish the job. Araya blows up, but in an incredibly vague way, with incredibly vague words. Get ready for the next battle. I look away for 1 second and Bazette blows Saber's head smooth off. The nerve of this lady. Just kidding, it was all a dream. Ha ha ha. Saber's fine. The two Shikis are training, and Ryogi tells her about her experience with the Ozakis. Len interrupts, and we get a lore dump on White Len. For those who don't know, White Len is a piece of Tatari that was broken off when Shiki, Shion, and Phantasmoon defeated him at the end of Melty Blood. She was given form and became one of Aoko's familiars. I feel like most people forget that last part, as White Len has become a joke character after her introduction, so it's cool to see Battle Moon Wars take her seriously. Len is going to make it her goal to get White Len to return to herself. During the nightly meeting, they talk about the Grail again and come to a shocking discovery. This whole time they've been fighting, it's been contributing to the human sacrifices each foe defeat. Wait a minute. Didn't we already have this discussion already? I sure hope my game isn't bugged. It's time for Bazette to wake up. Despite winning the Grail War off screen, she's back where she started. That scene with Saber being defeated, that happened, yet here she is back in this room. The immortality Bazette has achieved lets her live out 4 days, and then regardless of the outcome, she wakes back up on the first day, repeating the cycle. Avenger suggests they consult the Einsburns as they should know something. Not a bad idea, there's just one problem. The castle is guarded by an attack dog, and by attack dog, I mean Berserker. Avenger stays behind to keep him at bay. All you have to do is get Bazette to the gate to win. I tried to fight Berserker, but he folded Avenger like an omelet on the first turn. Thankfully, he is fat and slow, so he couldn't catch up with Bazette, and she gets inside, no problem. Inside the manor, there is a short scuffle with the maid until it's interrupted by Irisvel. I totally expected Ilya, but I guess she's here too. Bazette is here for one reason, to get her questions answered. First, she asks about Iris's servant. She reveals that technically Berserker isn't her servant, but something closer to a ghost. Her servant was stolen from her on the 4th day of the Grail War. It's something that every participating master and servant should know, but this is the first Bazette is hearing about it. It seems like Avenger might be hiding something. Her suspicions are shortly confirmed when Iris reveals that the servant that was lost was of the Avenger class. Also, he's said to have no noble phantasms, which contradicts what we've been seeing with Bazette. So Bazette asks about the noble phantasm that's been making her relive the last 4 days, and if Iris knows any way to go past that 4-day limit. Iris suggests that she just break her contract and she'd be free, but Bazette doesn't intend to give up. She's going to win the Grail. Bazette is left with more questions than answers. Ultimately, she decides to investigate the Grail War on her own to uncover the truth. This battle is surprisingly short and easy. I tried to style on him with the Shiki combo attack, but he took no damage and killed everyone. Takumi wakes up from a nightmare, but he knows it was no dream. Haruna, Takumi, Shiro, and Kohaku have been having similar dreams, and they realize they've been stuck in a time loop the last 4 days. Sakura wakes up, they have the Grail discussion, they go to the hotel, they fight Araya, sometimes they win, sometimes they lose, but they always end up in the same place. Shiki interrupts the discussion because Len realizes that this has White Len written all over it. White Len must be playing a part in this never-ending loop. If they can stop her, the loop will end. Len doesn't know where White Len is, but she can sense when she's close by, so Haruna flies Len around the city to track her down. Len is able to pinpoint White Len's exact location. At the same time, Aoko asks White Len to take care of it as she's trying not to get involved, directly at least. Face to face with White Len, the map is transformed into a winter wonderland. This battlefield is filled with trenches. They pose a slight challenge as you have to maneuver around them and they block attack ranges. Len summons Nania and Berserker in this fight, but you can just ignore both of them and focus on defeating her. White Len is struck down, refusing to return to Len but vowing that they'd meet again. All everyone can do now is wait and see if tomorrow will come. Elsewhere, Aoko teases White Len for being so on the nose with the "we'll meet again" cliche. But the shadowy mastermind thanks the both of them for buying her time. She asks one more thing of White Len, and that is to lure out Bazette, as she is the last piece on this chessboard. The night calms down and Toko is having a drink. Takumi joins her and the two talk about what has transpired so far. No matter how much progress they make, it feels like they're being manipulated every step of the way. I mean, they totally are, but they don't know that. Toko hypothesizes that all of the energy being collected by the sacrifices might be used to discharge the Grail. At this point, I'd have to agree, because why would you go through the trouble of starting a Grail war if you're not going to use it? Takumi then reveals that he was trained by a cat and has a preference for older women like Toko. You know, I always assumed that Takumi and Haruna were original characters, but they have too much lore sprinkled throughout the game. They must be from some other franchise. Upstairs, Lancer speaks for the first time in a long time, but all Karen tells him is to be ready when she calls on him. Bazette hits the town. She wanders the streets aimlessly, unsure of what city she's in at times, and she's still missing some memories. While walking around, she figures if she could find Emiya Kuritsugu, the winner of the last Grail War, he might have some answers. She searches high and low and doesn't find him, but does find Arcueid. This battle is another coughing baby versus hydrogen bomb situation. Bazette takes one punch from Arcueid and starts freaking out. You would too if you were fighting the strongest character in your universe. Bazette manages to KO Arcueid, but not really. She retaliates, cutting off most of Bazette's left hand. Then Phantasmoon appears. Wow, I wonder what's gonna happen next. Nope, that's too interesting. Cut back to the morning. Shiki is training with Ryogi, but we're seeing it from Akiha's perspective. Exciting! Phantasmoon barges in and wants to ask Saber one thing. How can she lure out the blonde guy so she could beat him up? She just won't be satisfied until he's beaten to a bloody pulp. If you couldn't tell, tomorrow did not come. White Len was not the source of everything. Thankfully, Takumi, Haruna, Kohaku, and Shiro were able to retain all of their memories. Once again, everyone is back at square one for the 10th time in this story. All they can do is go out on patrol and not do what they did last time. And wouldn't you know, they run into Phantasmoon post-Bazette fight. The imposter forced Phantasmoon to drink blood and she loses it. The top priority has shifted. They have to stop Red Arcueid before she rampages across the city. Battle time. This map is just a rectangle with a lot of enemies on it. The game stopped being hard hours ago, and with so much healing, it's impossible to lose. The only thing stopping me is having enough patience to kill the same enemies over and over. Characters like Takumi and Saber are so strong, they shred most enemies in one hit, and any damage that is taken is healed tenfold. The one thing that saves this fight is the kick-ass rendition of Red Arcueid's theme, After 1000 Years. I've yet to talk about the music. It serves its purpose, but I wouldn't call any of the original tracks memorable. The renditions of tracks from Tsukihime, Fate, and Melty are the best part. The music changes during every attack animation, which is annoying, but if you turn animations off, it'll stay on that one track until another animation is played. So I made sure that this theme kept playing for the whole fight. Red Arcueid has some of my favorite boss animations. All of that just for Hisui to tank it like it was nothing. To defeat Red Arcueid, CL busts out the big guns, and she gets a shiny new high-fidelity attack. Anything that features 7, I'm a big fan of. Don't worry, Phantasmoon is fine. Ciel only half killed her. They take her back to the mansion, but she isn't able to recall much about the encounter. There was a female mage, an imposter. She couldn't confirm if the fake Arcueid was Tatari or not. Karin gives Ciel the rundown. Bazette was a master from the last Grail War that was betrayed by Kotomine Kire. Lancer was her servant that was stolen by Kire. She didn't die, but was put into a coma. Ever since then, Karin and the church have been taking care of her. Karin plans to capture her alive with the help of Ciel and Lancer. It's time for Bazette to wake up. Avenger, seeing Bazette is trying to do anything to find answers, finally reveals what's been going on. The real Grail War was 6 months ago. She was betrayed and the Grail War here is being manufactured. If she asked, Avenger would have just told her the truth, but she tells him to go fuck himself and storms off. Now Bazette knows the truth. When she was killed by Kire, she wished that she wouldn't die. The Grail granted her wish, but had an interesting interpretation, trapping her in this time loop. As long as she stays connected to the Grail, the time loop will never end. She is in no rush to die and is not willing to end the time loop. Karin takes matters into her own hands and summons Lancer for a good old Grail War rematch. Or at least it's supposed to be. For some reason, enemies spawn in to protect Bazette, but I think that's just for gameplay purposes. Karin tells Ciel not to get involved, but you can use her anyway, and I will. With Lancer and Bazette on the same battlefield, you know what's coming. They both use their ultimate attacks and take each other out. With Bazette out of the picture, Avenger reveals his true form. A wolf, backed up by an army of wolves. Almost enough to make a city of the wolves or something. Good thing the anti-amnesia squad shows up to help out. Karin starts the fight with low HP, but she can easily heal herself, so I wonder why they even bothered. Those wolves might look scary, but they're nothing more than paper tigers. Avenger is the only damage sponge here, but with Takumi and Ciel, that sponge gets squeezed in no time. Looks like that transformation was all bark, no bite. It's time for Bazette to wake up. Now that there are no secrets between them, Avenger has a heart-to-heart with his master. He wants this to end. He's sick of it. They've done this so many times, there is simply no point. Don't get it twisted. Bazette made the Grail War fun, and he truly enjoyed the time he had with her. But it's time to put it to an end. Even if he has to destroy the Grail himself, he asks one last time to end this thing for good. Bazette pauses for a moment and kills him in retaliation. Bazette will protect the Grail at all costs. I haven't talked about upgrades in a while. Ciel and Shiro have become very useful units as of late, i.e. they're killing things really fast. So I upgrade Shiro's HP and speed and invest a ridiculous amount of points into Ciel's attack stat and weapons. In the Tono Mansion, Takumi, Haruna, Kohaku, and Shiro are trying to convince everyone for the billionth time that they are in a time loop. Karin now also remembers, and I'll chalk that up to whatever happened with Bazette yesterday. Actually, it's a good thing she remembers, because she has figured out the source of the time loop. It happened right after they saved Sakura from Ilya's castle, which feels like eons ago at this point. The only way to escape this Groundhog Day hell is to force Bazette to give up or destroy her connection with the Grail. To sever her connection, they need to get to the Cup of Heaven. Those were Avenger's last words when they killed him. Upon hearing those words, Sakura recalls something Ilya engraved into her mind while captured. The Cup of Heaven is the highest point in the city. Everyone puts their thinking caps on. What is the highest point in the city? The skyscraper where they defeated Tatari in Melty Blood? That's high, but you can't see everything. Haruna could try to fly up in the air and find it. That's when Shiro gets a bright idea. He's not confident in it, but says it anyway. The highest point that can see everything? That's the moon. Between the 4th and 5th day, the real world appears for a second in the moon. Bang, zoom, they go straight to the moon. Darksaber is here to greet us along with some wolves, and the common enemies we've seen oh so many times. This is basically a repeat of the red Arcueid fight, except there are triangular prisms you can stand on top of. I'm happy to announce that the princess of the true ancestors has finally locked in and stopped live action role playing as a magical girl. Better late than never, I say. Arcueid is back. She is one of the best units in the game. Her damage, insane. She's got amazing movement, dodge, SP skills, and a health bar that could survive a thermonuclear blast. To top it all off, whenever she attacks, it plays a rendition of her theme from Melty Blood, appropriately named Theme of Arcueid. This song wasn't brought back in Type Lumina, and I did not realize how much I've missed it. Her animations are great too, a good mix of silly and serious. My strategy has adapted. Instead of trying to take out all of the enemies and waste my time, I clear a path for my strongest characters to break through and try to kill the boss as quickly as possible. Darksaber has some AoE attacks, but everyone has such massive health pools, they just shrug that damage off. This Darksaber is once again vanquished by the light. Intermission time, not many more of these. Before the next fight, I make the best decision I've made all game, and give Arcueid all of the upgrades. Nothing is gonna stop this true ancestor. We've finally caught up to Bazette. Avenger in Shiro's body, don't ask, confronts her. He is still trying to convince her to stop, but she refuses to listen. They don't even bother to draw a rectangle for this battle, it's just a grid. Watching Arcueid punch purple rabbits is pretty amusing. Bazette comes to us and tries to put up a fight, causing her to eat a counterattack, ending the fight early. Avenger and Bazette have another back and forth, and right as it seems he's getting to her and she's gonna accept that it's all over, Bazette is attacked by Iris and Kiritsugu. They've hijacked this time loop and are not gonna let it end. They try to get Avenger to their side, he refuses, they unleash a sick combo attack and kick everyone out of the moon. They come back the next day, and look, Avenger is back. They're definitely gonna finish it for real this time. It might seem random that Iris and Kiritsugu have shown up seemingly out of nowhere, but it's implied that Avenger let them in on this time loop business. It also seems the one in control is Ilya, and the two are fighting for their daughter's sake. No big monologue this time, it's just straight to business, and you'll appreciate that because this fight takes an incredibly long time. Thanks in part to the extra wide map and pockets of enemies scattered throughout. With Avenger by our side, this is the part where I tell you about his skills. But I barely used him because if he gets KO'd, it's game over. This lose condition can be invalidated by leaving him at the starting area and not touching him. Taking care of the countless generic enemies is so tedious at this point, I would just throw on a podcast and zone out. The bosses have started to stack defensive supports, protecting them from attacks. With so many characters at your disposal, it's not that big of a deal because the skill has a limited number of uses each turn. Attack until they run out and wail on them to your heart's content. The bosses don't even move, encouraging you to surround them in a circle of pain. Iris is the first one I killed, and Kiritsugu must be jealous he didn't get to do it this time, but don't worry, you're next, buddy. With that, the lovebirds are defeated. Avenger and Bazette are able to reconcile, and he reveals to her that she'll be just fine when this loop ends. Bazette feared she was dead because Kirei killed her. After all, people die when they are killed. However, she's misinformed. She wasn't dead, just close to it. She's been in a comatose state, and Karen has taken care of her since then. Time for this to end. Avenger leaves her with some encouraging words. The two don't say goodbye and count down to 0 as the time loop ends. It's time for Bazette to wake up to a new day. And now it's time to join everyone. The time loop has stopped, but we still have the same amount of leads when it started. Bazette explains everything that happened to those who don't remember. They choose to investigate where she was waking up to see if maybe they can find any clues. Kohaku gets bored and decides to take Saber on a little shopping trip. During the trip, they have a genuine heart-to-heart. Their relationship has been a highlight of this game. Both carry immense burdens, and seeing Kohaku trying to help Saber is sweet. They're having a great time until Gilgamesh butts in. The nerve of this guy. Just as Saber is about to be killed by Gilgamesh's attack, Kohaku jumps in front of her, taking the blow. Kohaku is in critical condition, and Gil figures she's not long for this world, and peaces out since Saber will disappear along with her master. Saber is able to get Kohaku back to the mansion in time for Natsuki to treat her. She will survive, but will likely be disabled for the rest of her life. A guilt-ridden Saber stays by Kohaku's side, trying to comprehend why Kohaku protected her while lamenting her own failure. Miraculously, Kohaku wakes up and tells Saber she saved her because she would have been sad to see her go. She moved without thinking and is sure Saber would have done the same for her. With those words, she passes out. Kohaku seems to be regenerating somehow. Shiro and Rin deduce it's related to Saber's sheath. It was able to heal Shiro during the Grail War, so why not Kohaku? That would work, but Saber has no idea where the sheath is, but Hisui might. She vaguely recalls Kohaku moving something that fits the description into the basement. They venture down there, and what do you know? There's the sheath. Unfortunately, the security's tripped, and to get that sheath, they're gonna need to go through the fearsome Mecha Hisui. This fight is a nice change of pace. The layout is unique, having two bridges in the middle that lead to a plateau. At this point, I'll take any variety I can get. If Arcueid gets a crit with her Marble Phantasm, she does an insane amount of damage. Just look at that. Not to be outdone, Takumi dishes out his own Grand Slam, and Mecha Hisui is down. It's a shame we couldn't recruit her, but getting that sheath is priority number one. The sheath is back in Saber's possession, and it should fast-track Kohaku's recovery. All they have to do is wait. Now that they have the sheath, Saber can use Avalon. She won't have any trouble taking down Gilgamesh, if she even gets to fight him. Arcueid might kill him first. The next morning, Kohaku is back in tip-top shape. Saber reprimands Kohaku for being so reckless, but is glad that she's safe. She then confides in Kohaku, telling her her wish for the Grail. Saber wants to go back in time and stop herself from becoming king in hopes that someone else can do a better job and save her kingdom. Kohaku rejects this idea and tells her she's being way too hard on herself. When all the fighting is over, Kohaku wants Saber to stay with her at the mansion. Gilgamesh and Araya have teamed up. Gil loves teaming up with super nice people. I'm sure this won't come back to bite him. Gil asks Araya to bait our heroes out, and he takes Ilya and goes to the Grail site. Like a bunch of fish, our heroes take the bait. Gil's not alone though. He's got his good pal Berserker here to back him up. We've been through this song and dance before. Berserker may have been a challenge at first, but everyone has been powered up to such incredible heights, the 5,000 damage threshold is easily broken. When it came time to take on Gilgamesh, I spammed the most powerful attacks in my arsenal. Once I had him on the ropes, I let Arcueid land the coup de grace with her Marble Phantasm. He starts charging his ultimate attack. Not gonna do anything, Ryogi? You know what comes next. Avalon with a Marble Phantasm kicker to put an end to Gilgamesh. Araya then betrays Gilgamesh, shocker, and now they have to go back to the apartments and deal with him. If that wasn't bad enough, Tatari is about to materialize too. Our heroes have their work cut out for them. Araya and Tatari team up to take everyone down for good. This battleground is split between two triangular prisms. The one on the left is a flat arena, and the one on the right is steep like a mountain. You have to split your characters between these two areas. Araya has his wallpaper with him, and Tatari materializes copies of Red Arcueid and Nero. I tried my best to evenly distribute my strongest characters between the two areas, but I made a tactical blunder early on and got Ryogi killed. The sloped pyramid restricts movement, but there are way less enemies. I was able to clear them out surprisingly fast, and before I knew it, Nero, Red Arcueid, and Wallachia fell before the 6th turn. With that side's main threat gone, I had everyone sprint down the pyramid to assist in killing Araya. Can you imagine how terrifying it would be to see all those characters running down a pyramid to solely come and kill you? It's actually kind of funny. His wallpaper puts up a valiant effort, but it isn't good enough. And this offense on two fronts comes to a close. The victory is short-lived as the two knuckleheads, they were just a distraction. Suddenly, Arcueid randomly starts feeling bloodlust and is warped away. The mastermind's final move is about to be set in motion. If it wasn't clear enough, Aoko has been working with them the whole time. Aoko wishes her good luck and leaves her before anyone else can get there. Arcueid is the first one to meet this mastermind. It's Arcueid's job to protect the world. It warped her here to deal with the mastermind personally. However, the woman corrects Arcueid. She wasn't summoned to defeat her, but what lies beyond the Grail. Everyone makes it back to where they fought Gilgamesh, and they meet the woman who's been pulling their strings. All of the people brought back, it was her doing using the power of Tatari and the Grail. Her goal this whole time was to gather up all of that energy, fill up the Grail using the Rite of Soul Suppression so they could defeat a devil? Not the devil, but a devil. Basically, she's gonna fill up the Grail, it's gonna kill everyone in the city, but it's also gonna take out that devil. So, the needs of the few outweigh the needs of the many kind of situation. Because the devil would have killed everyone anyway. She asks everyone to stop because the world is on her side, summoning Arcueid, so she must be in the right. Haruna suddenly remembers the identity of the woman standing before them. Ku Mochizuki. Her and Haruna seem to have quite the past. They both share the same powers. She can see the future. That's how Ku was able to plan everything out to the detail. Every encounter, every victory, every loss, it was all planned so it could lead up to this moment. And all she needs everyone to do is lay down their lives so she can activate the Grail and kill that devil. But we're not about to just give up. Let's take her out. Since this fight shares an arena with the Gilgamesh fight, it is virtually the same, just swap out Berserker for Arcueid and give the common enemies more HP. I have yet to talk about Bazette as a playable character. The first goal is to snap Arcueid out of her trance by hitting her over the head repeatedly. Once defeated, she'll rejoin your side with full HP. Ku has the electric dog and bird with her as backup. They can do some really annoying chip damage. I recommend taking out the bird first since it has the least amount of health. After that, you can focus on Ku directly. You can beat her with the tried and true method of stacking all of your strongest characters around her, buffing them, getting some damage boosts, and unleashing one attack after the other. I mean, if you've made it this far, she should be no challenge, and before you know it, she'll be history. With her last breath, Ku asks Haruna to do her best, and dies. The mastermind is gone. Now it's the Grail's turn. Kohaku orders Saber to take out the Grail, and she unleashes Excalibur on that annoying cup. But it didn't work. Instead, they opened a door to the Road of the Grail. Rin is like, oh, so that's how they summoned all the servants without the Greater Grail. Like, sure, yeah, okay, I understand that completely. Then the Road of the Grail sucks everyone in. Well, this certainly looks like a place where the final boss would be. In a shocking twist, the devil we've all been searching for these last 2 minutes is the stage right underneath our feet. Takumi thinks all hope is lost. They can't defeat something this big, but Haruna steps up and starts hyping everyone up. She glazes Saber, she glazes Lancer, Shiro, Archer, Shiki, Toko, Rin, Len, Arcueid, CL, Sakura, Ryder, Akiha, Hisui, Kohaku, Takumi, and the rest. When she said, "We are Type Moon," I got chills. Alright, get hyped. This is the last battle. Contrary to her speech, you do not get to use all of your characters in this mission. In fact, you have to bench 5 of them at the start. Is it strange that I find that kind of funny? This stage splits into 3 paths. There is a boss at the end of each branch. To win, you have to destroy all 3. I sent Archer, Ryogi, Shion, and Bazette to the bottom path. Rin, Shiro, Lancer, and Saber to the left path, and Takumi, Akiha, Shiki, and Arcueid to the top path. Then I kept the supports near the center so they could heal. I'm happy that the last fight is something unique and not another boring rectangle fight. I did make a huge tactical error on par with Napoleon invading Russia. When I sent Takumi to the top path, it required climbing, and Takumi, unfortunately, cannot climb, so he was just stuck there. Shiki and Arcueid, on the other hand, totally can. Since Shiki's dodge is so freaking cracked at this point, I just kind of set him up there and all the enemies just kept attacking him while I had Arcueid sneak in and start beating up the boss, and then I had Shiki follow behind her. But man, it was really funny just watching them waste their turns on him. I'm glad that I split everyone up and didn't try to focus on one boss at a time because when you defeat one of them, it's revealed that they come back the next turn. To win, you actually have to kill all three bosses in one turn to win. This wasn't much of an issue, and I was able to coordinate with all three teams to take them out simultaneously. Shiki, Shion, and Saber landed their final blows, and it's mission complete, right? Nope, they just keep coming back no matter what they try. All seems lost, but in the 11th hour, Ilyasville von Einsburn comes in clutch and draws out the Devil's Soul into a conveniently placed sphere. Everyone gives it their all and attacks the Devil's Soul. Shiki and Ryogi use their mystic eyes of death perception. Saber spams Excalibur. Arcueid uses her Noble Phantasm. Haruna and Natsuki do a combo attack I didn't know existed. And Takumi uses his god-killing sword to cut right into the Devil's Soul. With their powers combined, the soul is destroyed, engulfing everyone in a white light. Ilya gets to say goodbye to her brother one last time. And the Battle Moon Wars are over. Mission complete. It's a bright, sunny day. Shiki is woken up by his faithful servant. If he doesn't wake up soon, he's gonna miss saying goodbye to everyone. Shiro, Rin, and Sakura are cooking breakfast for everyone. Shiro just can't get his mind off his sister. Once again, she managed to save everyone's lives and the world at the cost of her own. Shiro's body still needs some tweaking, so he'll be going with Toko and Ryogi. Saber is relaxing in the garden when Shiro pops by. Saber lets him know that she's fine and has decided that she'll be staying with Kohaku and the Tonos, but they can still visit each other every now and then. Karin and Ciel are going to go back to Fuyuki City and report to the church. Bazette asks Shion if she would be okay if she joined her on her travels. In their parting moments, Avenger told her to go see the world after all. Len wasn't able to catch White Len, but Toko assures her that if she sees White Len, she'll bring her back. Archer finds Arcueid at the ruins of their last battle. She can't help but shake the feeling that something is wrong. Not even breakfast can get her out of this dour attitude. Haruna and Natsuki also have some reservations, but what more can they do? For all intents and purposes, the day is saved for real this time. Akiha thanks Takumi and Haruna for their help. Takumi and Haruna thank her, and everyone goes their separate ways. The end. Or is it? In a post-credits scene, Aoko is seen talking to White Len. Seems like everything played out just as Coop predicted. And she's totally alive! And that was my brief overview of Battle Moon Wars. I'm sorry if I didn't go into enough detail, the video did end up being pretty short. Battle Moon Wars is the most ambitious doujin game I have ever played. I'm shocked that a doujin game has this level of quality. The gameplay is good, albeit a bit on the easy side of things. It's a lot more enjoyable in the beginning when you have weaker characters and a limited roster. It forced me to strategize, but once you get more characters and start boosting their stats, the battles become really easy. The game works best when you have a limited roster or an interesting map to play on. Regardless, playing Battle Moon Wars was time well spent. It's basically everything I could have wanted from a Type Moon RPG. This game's biggest accomplishment is its story. It takes itself seriously and acts like a legitimate sequel to Melty, Fate, and Kara no Kyoukai. I didn't highlight much of the character interactions in this summary, but man are they on point, and everyone gets their time to shine in the narrative. Takumi and Haruna fit right in with the Type Moon characters while also being interesting protagonists and not stealing the spotlight. Congratulations! Now that you've watched this video, you too have officially beaten Battle Moon Wars by just watching. Just kidding. This video only scratched the surface. I omitted a lot of small details because I want you to play this game. There is still so much to see, so go experience the game yourself. I've linked it in the pinned comment. I do have a confession to make. The ending I got was just the normal ending. To get the true ending, you need to get 41 battle masteries on hard mode. Battle masteries are extra goals for each fight, like finishing the battle in 5 turns. I only got 18. I tried to look up the true ending on YouTube so I could include it in the video, but I found nothing. So I think a challenge is in order. If you can upload and send me video proof of you getting the true ending by the end of June 2026, and email it to me at drzuulyt@gmail.com, you'll get a shout out in the last video and your choice of any singular Type Moon game on Steam. You have to be the one to beat the game. You can't just send me the ending, and the video has to be uploaded this month. This is a long game, so it'll take some time. Just be sure to be back in time for the next episode of Type Moon June. Too many people guessed this episode, so the only clue you'll get this time is the next episode is about a character in the Tsukihime verse. That includes Tsukihime and its sequels. Guess correctly and make it into the next episode. Until that time comes, have a happy Type Moon June.